In this video session, we will discuss what is a linear programming problem. In the next session, it will be discussed how to formulate a linear programming problem. Look at this example. This is an example for a linear programming problem. Now let us try to identify the components of a linear programming problem. First, see we have two variables x and y. These variables are called decision variables. We call x and y decision variables because we have to decide the optimal values of those variables by solving the problem. Then, this part is called the objective function. You see that it says we need to maximize the function z. In other words, it is our objective to maximize the function z, that is 2x plus 4y. Since this part represents our objective, it is called the objective function. Then these are the constraints. That means limitations. Here we use the word constraints instead of limitations. We need to maximize the objective function within these limitations. Or we say we want to maximize z subject to these constraints. Here we have two constraints. Finally, this part is called the non-negativity. It says that all the variables involved are positive. Let us take another example. Here we have three decision variables x1, x2, and x3. Here also we have an objective function, constraints, and non-negativity. Here the objective is to minimize the function z. Therefore we say this is a minimization problem. The previous problem was a maximization problem. Here we have three constraints. And this is non-negativity part. Why we call these problems linear programming problems. Here the programming does not mean any computer programming. The programming here means maximize or minimize the objective function by changing the values of the decision variables appropriately. Then you will also see that all the variables in the objective function and constraints are of power 1. That means linear. This is the reason we call them linear programming problems. There are non-linear programming problems as well. Hope you understood the meanings of objective function, constraints, and decision variables by now. Here onwards we use those terminologies. So, we identified the components of a linear programming problem in this session. In the next session we will see how to formulate or construct a linear programming problem.